looking over proceedings.
Gotta have Macca, haven't you?
And you, fucking the legs.
Peace
Look
and
at him. Look at him. I went to see him. Sorry, we're talking now. But I went to see him.
Put your headphones on.
and-
We'll talk.
And he spent more time milking the crowd than he did playing songs.
How much did it cost you to see him?
I can't remember, to be honest. It was expensive. But he, after every song he played, he got all, well, you're supposed to would do, wouldn't you? Paul McCartney, do what you fucking like.
God, aren't you?
I know, absolutely.
Well, cheers, Mark.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Good to see you, brother.
It's brilliant to see you.
Nice one. You look exactly the same, which
Do I?
I didn't expect anything less.
Well, you don't look any different. You got a bit of grey in the beard, mate. Apart from that, aren't we all? If it's good enough for Clooney, it's good enough for me, isn't it?
So how you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. Yeah, all good.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, too long.
Very long time.
Very long time and too long.
I was thinking, I've just been talking to Aidan. We've just been playing the guitar, haven't we? And talking about music and history, and obviously it's been a strange week. Friends of ours have left the earth, and we've been chatting a lot. In fact, you were the one who told me what had happened, and just a lot of reflection. It's been weird. It's been it's strange, isn't it? When somebody leaves, you kind of come into contact with other people that you've kind of already left. Yeah, in a physical sense.
Yeah. I think it's a lot to do with our age, and things start to happen at around our age, and you reflect a lot more, don't you? Getting a bit deep straight away, aren't we? But you reflect, and all of a sudden, everything that seems like a past life, doesn't it? It's that long ago.
Yeah, definitely.
It comes back into reflection. You think, actually, it's a shame that everything just got lost, and your life moved on completely, and you made new plans, met new people, and that's all good. But you forget what you've left behind, and a lot of the time that's not a good thing. I don't think sometimes.
No, it's weird because it's that path is the kind of necessary path, isn't it? Because you can't carry everything everywhere, can you?
No, true.
And you have to weave into the. But yeah, it is in these moments when people pass along that I think that we have gone in deep, but
we've gone
the victory ale will kick in at some point.
Yeah, you can't help it when something like that happens, though, can you? You do reflect, and you probably would have seen Wade a lot more than I have recently, but when I did see him in town, it was like I'd seen him yesterday, and he was just telling me all about his music, and obviously I'd been doing a bit on the open mic scene anyway, and seen Springy, and Springy does a lot on the open mics, and he obviously does a bit with Wade, and so all of a sudden I'd sort of not gone back into that world, but
no, but you're moving in that circle.
Became connected with it again, yeah. So my sister is, Lincoln, you're never far away from someone who knows someone else. My sister's obviously friends with some of Wade's family as well, so it's
well, you mentioned me seeing him. I haven't seen him, and it was really ironic because he reached out to me. How it worked with myself and Wade, and for listeners, first of all, Mark Foster. We started musical lives together in our teenage years. Yeah. Today's guest, long-time friend. I lived in your house. I love your parents. We've got a lot to get through. But yeah, our friend who passed away, who I mentioned on the introduction to a couple of the previous podcasts, Wade Benson, one of my personal best friends growing up, college and everything together. Yeah, he passed away. So, but yeah, I didn't get to see him as much as we'd like. As you mentioned at the start of this chat, like lives go in different directions, and Wade is, it's well documented that he struggled. He went down a different road and struggled with his mental health, and he would have peaks and troughs, and he was on kind of felt like a 3-year cycle to me where he would hit that good spell and maybe get a year out of a good spell, and then he would, the medications and things would start to change, and then he would be back in a centre where he'd have to be looked after and so on. And I guess how you've seen him, in those moments when he's out doing the music and stuff, he was in that good space, super creative. That was when he'd be pumping out sonnets off the top of his head and but he reached out to me. It was really quite difficult, actually, because he literally reached out to me the week before, and we were setting up him coming here to have tea and stuff, and going to sit in here and do this and just rip it all back down to the bones. And then I literally came downstairs from putting my kids to bed, and you'd got in touch and said he wasn't here, and it was like, wow, that was really raw and shed a lot of light on, I think you said it as well about our age, where we are at this moment in time. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of, you start thinking, wow, that was 20-something years ago. You're old enough to say that I was an adult then.
It's mad, isn't it?
It was 20-something years ago.
I know. I think like I say, it brings it all into sharp focus. And I've had a lot of change in my personal life over the last few years, and I think you do reflect, you naturally reflect, and you think to yourself, actually, what the path you're on, is it the right path? Are you doing the right things? And all of a sudden, 39 years old, 40 years old next year, and it's like, you know, I don't feel it. I don't feel like...
You don't look it, so fucking...
Well, that's a fucking...
Powerful fuzzy. Powerful fuzzy. All that football, all that sharp thinking.
You've got to say it.
No, you are. You look really well, mate. And you look happy, and I know you've been through a difficult period, as you mentioned, you know, so... But it's having that strength, isn't it, sometimes, to adjust and pivot and kind of accept things.
Yeah, you've got to accept things quickly. But then all of a sudden, it's funny, you just go, I think you go on a bit of autopilot, really, and just referring back to Wade, he would obviously, things would come into sharp focus for him, he'd probably get better, get well, and then all of a sudden, quite quickly, he'd slip back again. And so what he probably couldn't do is keep that
sustained.
That sustained getting better, do you know what I mean?
It's stay on that even keel. But there was a genius to him, you know, he had that kind of, and that's something I'm trying to relay to my wife, who knew Wade a little bit but didn't know him as well as she'd have liked, and trying to, in reflection, and I knew it at the time, but more so now than ever, I think, is how unbridled he was in his self, you know.
Yeah, no, it's hard to convey that, isn't it?
He was just him. He wear what he's wearing, crazy, funky, eccentric, you know, never really negative, always positive, and I think. And I look back at my time with him, it feels like, I definitely took some of that, whether I knew it or not at the time, like just kind of a bravery to be who you are and just...
I think growing up as we did, in the time that we did, I think you're from a certain part of the city, you do the same things as everybody else, and all, but like the music thing lifted us away from it, didn't it?
Escape,
it was definitely an escape, and with Wade, he was already doing that, and I said this to Springy the other day, and he was, to us, he was a couple of years older or whatever, and he was in a band, and we were like,
and just saying that to Aidan, it was like, because there was no internet then, was there?
There was nothing.
You saw them boys come round the corner. That photo we shared the other day, them four boys. And when I saw that photo, which again for listeners, you know, I will share it and we'll link it in, but that photo of that band at the time, they were called The Rain, with Wade Benson as the singer, Gaz Jury on the guitar, Steph Smalley on the drums, Little Rennie, and John Smith on the bass. Yeah. And I can remember, I think it was where you were going there, is like, they came around the corner at the shops and it was like, fucking hell, they are like the Stone Roses, because you had the Enemy magazine and Melody Maker, Top of the Pops, and the bands. You know, for us to see lads on the estate that were like, fucking hell.
Well, it was the time when bands were becoming fashionable again, wasn't it? It was, you're coming out of rave, you're going into...
Early 90s,
you're going into... Oasis is starting to come, and Britpop, the Farm had already done it, and all of a sudden it's starting to happen. And like, hang on a minute, it's cool to be in a band and play the guitar, but someone was already doing it. Yeah. People who we knew, and we saw them, like, fucking hell, I have a bit of that. And I think referring it back to Wade again, he was part of it. He was the singer. I remember him dedicating a song at Grafton House to his mum, and I remember thinking to myself, oh God, that's what Liam Gallagher does. But then thinking to myself, actually, I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah. But great, dedicated, and his mum was in the crowd, and it was just. And we just wanted to do that, didn't we? We just wanted to be on stage and be in a band, and that was all we wanted to do as a 15-year-old kid.
Really powerful. And and we did, didn't we? We did. We went on and got it done. And it was weird because I was talking to, I think, who was I telling? I think it was Michael McKiernan, who I work with, episode 13, check it out. Great laugh, really pissed, fucking bonkers. We were talking about it and how kind of the spirit of those four doing that band has kind of come right through everything that we've done in many ways, you know, because Steph's the drummer in bands that we've been in. You know, I've got canvas print from 15 years ago, something like that, of us lot playing, and there's John Smith on the bass. Wade had done all the photography for the bands. His son was on our band's artwork and stuff. He did the artwork for my other band, Lost Souls, that I went on to do. He did the artwork for all that original artwork. So that kind of backbone has kind of found its way into everything that we've done. But what a lift, and definitely an escape, you know, for, like you say, for us. And you had your football as well. I had my football for a bit. But yeah, it was an emotional week, and yeah, I think like this lockdown, like this whole period we're in, a lot of reflection, a lot of kind of like and at our age, where is it all going? And
well, most people I know have been in lockdown and bought fucking puppies. That's all they've done. Everyone's bought, I'm going to buy a dog. I'm going to buy a dog. Everyone's gone fucking mental. I don't know what's going on. So it's just like, yes, it sent people mental. But being serious, that happening was just like bolt from the blue, really. And it just brings back, it brings everything into sharp focus. And, we'd already been talking about music and how we can move forward. Or
that was so strange, because I got the news, as you said, like you move along in your life, and it's been less and less for me to actually get together, because the dynamics of us. I've got 3 kids, married, got a business, got this pod, and kind of I've left the drugs and the madness way behind at this point. And Wade is moving in that world where, it's just not, we're just not, so it's difficult. I would go and get him every now and again and bring him in, we'd have food, and we made a track last time we did it. We made like a drum and bass track, which he did an impromptu a cappella, just vocal on it, which is amazing, by the way.
Is it?
I'm gonna do something with it, and as you allude to, music and stuff. But that's how I would see him every now and again, and that got less and less because the gaps get bigger and bigger.
Life gets in the way.
But for you, for us to have been chatting as we have, and again for listeners, we've been, the band that we're talking about is Live Riot, a band from that estate that kind of grew out of a couple of bands that amalgamated out of that very set of lads. And we were kicking things around and possibilities, and I think we all know we're at an age where maybe there's some fun to have. And it was so strange for me to get that news from you lads, from that period of my life, about my friend from that period. Do you know what I mean? It's like I was kind of back in that.
There's a synergy there in terms of, and I think it's, I'm getting a bit flipping full of it, but I honestly believe things happen for a reason sometimes. And it's almost like, you've got to grasp any opportunity you have. And someone like Wade, who was such an integral part of everything we started and carried on doing in our 20s, he would have been front row and centre at any reunion gig that we did. It would have been great for him. And it's almost like, it's a shame that we weren't 2 months in advance of or 3 months in advance of where we were, because it might have given him a focus and might have given him something to look at and something to take his mind away from things that probably weren't so good for him. So. But, it's all hindsight, isn't it? But
it is. And we celebrate, that's one thing we will do, is
absolutely.
We'll carry that legacy on, and, maybe there'll be some surprises in the future, and we'll do something for Wade. But yeah, God bless Wade and family and anybody who's listening. So how have you been, Mark?
Good, mate. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's been.
What year was it? When did we kick it? When did we kick the band?
Well, I think you need to go back further. I was thinking about this morning, and the first time I can remember being with you, I think we were about 7 or 8. You was down Longdale's Road, and it's before that, there's a housing estate now, but it was tennis courts. Yeah. And me and you were playing tennis. I'd gone to see, I think, one of my mates who lived down there, and I only really went to see him because I was hoping that you'd be around, because he was a bit of an idiot. And you were around, and we were playing tennis in the back, and I remember it now. There was a girl there, a couple of girls. They were playing tennis as well. So obviously you weren't paying any attention to me. Right. You were paying attention to.
Oh, was I already? Yeah,
you was already on it. And he did something, and I can't remember. I was trying to think of what it was, and I remember it resulted in this girl serving this tennis ball straight into my head. She thought it was me.
Oh, right. So I kind of provoked her.
You provoked her, probably fucking ran off, and because you was little and quick, weren't you? And I just turned around and she smashed this tennis ball straight in my fucking face, and I thought to myself, that's classic. And that's my first impression of it. That's the first time I can remember anything that you did. And I just thought to myself,
that sums it up.
I thought, and that there began. The saga of of me and you, which was a long one.
It was, and we tied across in different ways, didn't we? Because you were exemplary as a footballer. Example of a fucking, you did football properly, Yeah,
I was dedicated.
Not only did you have the fucking, exemplary skills, but you were dedicated. But we played football at similar clubs and would play in the rep squads and things like that. And then obviously living in the area and then having the music and kind of everything crossing over. And I think I even came to liveriot at some point.
You did at some point. I think it was, but you boys you were in a little band, I think, beforehand, and I'd started a little band, and
That's right,
you played at my school, and we were a bit rival. I was like, fucking hell, what's he doing? Come on, my school.
I was telling my wife about it since we chatted the Live Riot stuff, and she's like, well, so when did... And I said, do you know what? The first ever gig I did was at our rival high school.
Yeah, in the sports hall.
Which is, I think it was Comic Relief or something.
It's something like that, wasn't it?
But when I thought about it, I thought, that's fucking mad, really, because I was given permission by my school and your school. Because I was the only... Yeah.
I thought you just fucking steamed on like
well, that
place.
Sounds better, doesn't it? Let's keep the myth.
Let's
cut that, Aidan. As far as I remember, we had permission, because I can remember being told I was allowed to take 2 people with me. So, reason being, I was I was the only member of the band from my school.
Yeah,
the rest of them was from your school.
Mm.
And then we went to your school. I think I can't remember. I've got that on VHS somewhere.
You haven't? Have you really?
It's at my mum's house somewhere. But yeah, definitely got it.
It was. I can see it. I can remember it, and I can't remember what happened yesterday, but I can remember things like that. And I can remember
Poignant.
It was because it was the first time I'd ever done anything as well, and I remember it. And again,
what were we then? 14?
Yeah, 14, 15, I think. Probably year 11, so 15. And our school had a teachers band, and you played, we played, and then they played.
That's right.
And they were called the Manic Street Teachers.
Yes.
I remember thinking, what a fucking genius name.
Yes.
But
because you are a massive Manics fan.
And it was, I was just getting into him at that point, but I remember thinking to myself, and that's why that day I just remember it for all those things.
Stamped in your DNA memory, yeah.
But it wasn't long that we poached you.
I think I poached you. Didn't I?
Oh yeah, that was right. Yeah,
I remember hearing, because you had a really good name for your band. You were called Shine, weren't you? Were you called Shine?
I think we were called Shine. Yeah,
I'm sure someone said to me, "Oh yeah, Fozzie's got a band, and he's in," and they said the name, and at the time we were called the Vinyl, right? Because it's these little beer mats, little vinyl beer mats, right? But when we literally were in Joe Dale's shed. Shout out Joe Dale if you ever see this. And I couldn't play anything, but these lads, Flinny, Joe Dale, were like having lessons, and they were getting noise out. And we at Joe's, obviously, very nice sprawling place, big old summer house, just full of equipment. It was amazing. And I can remember just saying, "Look, we'll just turn around, don't look at me, and I'll sing." And I was telling Sam Griffiths, I did a podcast with Sam Griffiths, who was the singer of the Howl and the Hum, who were like, a band I love now, and they're on the ascension. In fact, their album's just come out. Check it out. I'll link it in. It's amazing. Telling him about this, and the first song that I sang was "Help" by the Beatles. That's fucking ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah.
I obviously didn't sing it. I just, and then "Live Forever" Oasis. I remember finishing "Live Forever" Oasis, and I allowed them to turn round. Right, and then I was really confident. And then it was like, right, we're a band, and we need a name. We had some pots of paint on the shelf in this like summer house shed thing, and some of the paint was vinyl paint. And I was like, fucking, that's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's a sign.
Records vinyl. We're a band. We're the vinyl. We are the records. And that was it from there on in. And I think I deluded myself for a long time about that.
Well, it's funny because I remember when. Because we had a couple of names. I think we went through various iterations of the band before we became Live Riot and went and did what we did. But I think we were. I remember me, you, and I think it was Flinny or someone sat going through a dictionary. Yeah. Sat at someone's house going through. Fucking hell, think of a name. How can we get a name? And a band name is absolutely. It's crucial, and it's so hard. I've never been someone who can. You've always been really quick and creative in them situations. I have to think about it, and I can't sort of shoot from the hip in like that. But you was always like bang, bang, bang. And
well, you know what? I think about that, and I think I've created a process for myself now, which is so much more organic than it used to be. Because I used to think of it. I used to think, right, what could it be? And, what rolls off the tongue or what fits in that? Whereas I've learned over the years that actually things, and you mentioned it a minute ago, like some things just mean, some things happen and mean it. And it's like, if you think about those things, you go, oh, well, this has happened. There's something in that. It's like, instead of titling a song, I used to try and title a song and then write it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah, I could never do that.
Whereas now I just fucking steal lines off a poster or off a whatever, or a fucking something I've read or someone says on a documentary, and gather them up, and then I write the song, and somehow it all fits.
Yeah, but it's funny you should say that, because I remember one of the songs we used to do. The only time I've ever got a title before I've got the rest is when I was, and it's not very glamorous, but it was a Fiat Punto advert or something shit, some shit car. But the thing came up at the end and it said safe, solid, beautiful.
What a tune!
And I thought to myself,
what a tune!
What that is. I love it.
Yeah,
I just loved it, and that's why I had it straight away. And I ended up, I fitted the lyrics and the song around poignant. That. And it was about, it ended up being about the birth of my first child. So it was, but it was that was the first time I'd ever done that. Usually, if I'm writing, I'll have something that starts you off, and all of a sudden, like you say, sometimes it just flows and it fits. And people say, How do you do it? How do you write a song? And I can't. Sometimes I don't know. It just. I just saying
happens. To Aiden before you came, I was just playing him the little thing that I've been messing about with, trying to do something for Wade. And that photo, I just thought about that photo. I was basically just crying in my bedroom, and my guitar was there, and I just picked it up and just thought, just take my mind off it, just play, and then melodic chords come out, and then I thought, well, no, I'm going to keep doing this, because where I'm at with the guitar at the minute is I just pick it up for kind of 10 minutes and realise I can still only play an F and an E, and then I just fucking put it back down again.
And you can get fucking good songs from an F and an E, right? You need two chords.
Oh, yeah, well, I think I made one. But no, I carried on with it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go through with this and just see what happens. And I just thought about that photograph, those four people, and I just thought, right, well, whatever. And then it turns out that my wife sent me some photographs of, because I asked for photographs of Wade, because I want to make like a collage video for him or something.
Yeah.
And she sent me some, and then there was just screenshots of his Facebook with his pictures of him, but he would write those poems, and he would write little sonnets and stuff. Yeah. And I thought, oh, fucking hell. I just put his words in this thing. And it was all just happening, sometimes they just come like that.
Best songs always do.
Yeah, and so I've been still working around on that, but that was one of those. But yeah, I you get to the end of it and go, well, what's this called? And I start looking at all the lines and like what fits, because some stuff is a good line in a song, but sounds corny or shit as a title, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it can do. But it needs to it needs to fit around something.
Yes,
titles can stand alone, but if you've got a line that maybe sound a little bit corny on its own, it's got to fit around something and be part of a wider message, doesn't it? But I never. I was always like, I'm just going to write the lyrics. I don't really care what it means or what it's about. It doesn't really mean anything. But as I've got older, you start to use your experiences a bit more in lyrics. I do anyway. So it works a lot better now. I think my lyrics mean something. They're not things that they ever did really when else, other than that one.
Well, no, but you say that. There's such a subconscious thing happening, because when I look back, and I've been listening to Live Riot stuff, and as we've talked about in the recent discussions, like that, the vein of that band is your songwriting. It's that big sweeping kind of, you can feel the manics in it, you can feel that sweeping side of the manics, that big emotive kind of soaring side of the manics in it. And there's always just a very kind of there's a raw element, I find. Well, exposing, like a self-exposing raw element, I find.
Well, thank you. It's nice of you to say that. But I think, and I've thought about this a lot with us talking and stuff, but I would come with a song, and it's quite one thing coming with a song that you can play it on an acoustic. What we were good at, and what you were particularly very good at, was arrangement and arranging the song. Because I could do that to a certain extent, but it's where you need that collaboration to take it on from being a good song on an acoustic guitar to actually sounding like something that's bigger and a bit of a beast on its own.
It's also nice because, I don't know about you, but confidence-wise, there's something about, I certainly feel like this, and lots of poets, artists, creators that I read talk about this feeling about when it comes from you, even though there's part of you that might go, fucking hell, this is good. There's an overwhelming feeling of like, yeah, but it's me though, isn't it? So how can it be like up there with James Dean Bradfield or fucking Noel Gallagher or, Tom York? Yeah. And there's that part of you. And then if you have got a trusting collaborator where you can go, all right, well, what do you think? And then they bring something to it that then it kind of turns the page for you a little bit, and like it brings an element and makes it exciting for you again, and kind of
it does. It's because it's a bit like it's just someone telling you that actually, it does sound like you think it sounds. Because you think it's all right and it's decent, but you need some reinforcement. You need someone, because you must remember the most nerve-wracking thing playing someone a song. I mean, think fucking hell, what if it's shit? And sometimes I remember playing them, and so I think Chris said to me once, sounds a bit campfire. And I remember thinking to myself, fuck, he's right. Do you know what I mean? I've written this.
Isn't that beautiful though, to be able to say that, like, because it's not easy to say that to someone.
But you need exactly. You need a relationship with someone to say, right, hang on a minute, fucking, I'm not sure about that. But I remember I wrote something with you once, or I wrote something, sorry, and I showed it to you first. And I did, and I can't remember what. It was a lyric, and you went, fucking hell, that sounds shit. That sounds fucking shit. I remember thinking, like, someone just fucking kill me. I was like, oh my God.
Sorry, brother.
Mate, it's what you need. You need, because sometimes you can go down a path, so you need to be able to. But no, those songs, looking back, and which I've done, and I'd periodically, every maybe year or 2 years, just get the CD out, dip in and listen to it. And the latter, certainly every band says this, but the longer we were at it, the better we got, the better the songs got. The songs actually became, you could start to hear, I always start to hear fucking massive orchestras or everything that could, to make the song, you say, just getting choruses, just finding that sound.
We were getting more confident, building more trust, you know, obviously gathering more skill, and not just individually, but like, you know, recognizing the one thing that was difficult in a band, and as has been in every band I've ever been in, is trying to retain the members, trying to retain the energy, trying to retain the focus. And as you're getting older, it gets harder and harder.
It does. That's the most difficult thing. I think. I remember we went down to see that producer in London that time, and we. And just for the benefit of everyone else, we were sat there fucking on the tube with shades on, thinking we were fucking going to see a producer in London. We've got shades on. We looked the bomb. To be fair,
Well, we believed it.
Well, that was the.
There's a difference between kind of blagging it and we genuinely. We thought, we've got some energy.
We did, and we got. I remember speaking to the geezer and him basically telling us we were too old, and we were like 24, 25. And
I can't remember a lot about that.
Well, it was the guy. Was he? Animal Farm or something. I can't remember what he was. Chris put us onto him anyway.
Right.
We went down there, and this guy had produced. There's pictures of me and you with like Big Ben behind us, and
I do remember. Yes, yeah.
And do you know how I remember it? Because again, I've been thinking about this going on here. But I thought we were on the tube, and it was fucking. I think it wasn't warm, but we were all sat there, and we were all looking shades and everything. And you had gloves on. I remember saying to you, what the fuck are you got?
What was I going to do? Kidnap or something?
Well, that's why he's going to do a fucking bang job. He's got a fucking bang. I remember thinking to yourself, what are you wearing? I kept saying to you, what are you wearing them gloves for? You like, it's fucking cool. It's cool.
What kind of gloves was I wearing?
I can't remember.
Do you know I don't?
Gloves. You had gloves on. I remember it because I remember thinking, fucking hell, we all look shit on.
Bruce Lee film or something.
Sounds like a good looking fucking front man, and he's wearing a pair of gloves. And he's got shades on.
What kind of gloves? Tell me they're leather.
I don't think. Is that I need a pair? You're going to murder someone with leather gloves.
If you're going to wear gloves, you're like in a fucking out, you know.
I reckon they're the sort of gloves. Do you know when
pair of thinsulate, you know, with a bit of white fluff hanging out.
I reckon there's what. Do you know when you're a kid and your mum attaches into your sleeves? Oh. I reckon it was one of them.
What was I thinking?
Well, but the point I was making was he told us we were too old at the time, and that was 24, 23. And I remember I got married, and then I had James, the firstborn son, not long after, and it becomes too difficult.
You were still playing semi-professional football, weren't you?
Yeah, it's too much really. It became too much.
You did amazing considering, because from my point of view, all the bands I've ever been in, I'm quite a driving force, if you like, overwhelming probably, and fucking, you know, as you've just said, that's fucking shit. But like, you know, hopefully in the bigger picture, that energy is useful to, you know, maybe get things moving. But you did really well, because I never worried about you, even though you were busy. I knew you would just say, look, I'm at the end of my plate. But you would never flake. You would never not be turning up to shit and start making weird excuses and stuff.
We were never I was never that kind of guy, and I like you said before, I believed it. I believed it. We were playing gigs throughout the country, but we were just trying to build and build and build every time. But I believed in every time we'd recorded, or every time I'd heard us play, watched us back. You know, I think I've still got. We did a gig in Leicester, and there was a DVD of it. And I remember what.
Yeah, have you got anything?
I think I've got it. Buzz.tv it was, and I don't know how or why, but I've got the DVD somewhere.
Have you got the studio live version of How Do You Feel that we did. There's a studio version of How Do You Feel that we did.
Oh yeah, what from what Matt, God rest his soul, did at the studio on the Allenby.
Scorpion.
Yeah, I got it.
God rest his soul.
The guy, Matt, the guy, he died in. This is getting morbid now.
Fucking hell.
You remember this? This was ages ago. He died in a motorcycle accident, didn't he? What was his name? I think his name was Matt. He was he played the bass. Do you remember?
Yeah, he's a skinhead.
Quite a big guy.
Quite thick set.
Yeah, played the bass.
Lovely lad.
Thick set. That's nice.
He put up with us in there till about 4 a.m.
He did. We went back.
Was that the session?
That was the session, and we went back the next day, and you, in fact, you went back the next day, and you did overdubbed some How Do You Feel at the end of it,
yeah.
And it turned out fucking epic. I remember me and you sat in a car park on a tent,
in tears,
listening to it, go, fucking hell, we made it, we're gonna fucking make it. This is fucking brilliant.
That feeling, though,
it was the best.
That feeling when you've created something and you've put your bit in and he's put his bit in and I put my bit in and because you can blag yourself to a degree because it's exciting and novelty is a powerful thing, but there is and for viewers, listeners, whatever, like I am super critical as well, and if I think I am shit or it is shit, as you've testament, I will fucking say, there's no bias in that sense. So I think that's your equilibrium, that's your balance. So when you do get that feeling, you think, fucking hell, that, you separate yourself and look at it objectively and go, fucking hell, that's got some energy. That is.
What were you joking about, like when about tears? But I remember we were sat in DB Studios and we'd recorded Standing Before the Storm. I think we'd done it last. And it made it on the EP, still available for anyone listening. I've got about fucking 400 if anyone wants one for free. I think we did put it up for sale for about £2, and I think we sold a few, didn't we?
Well, I get, just incidentally, interject quickly, I get probably a couple of messages a year or photos this now or tagged in stuff, people listening to that EP.
Really?
And apparently the university radio, what's that called? Siren. Breakout, the first track on it, that still gets played.
Does it?
I get told that still gets played.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't get any fucking royalties for that.
Oh, when I was living in Thailand, I got messages. I don't think we ever did our PRS, did we?
No.
I don't think lads like us were thinking about making sure we were legally sound.
Oh, no. I remember sending it to myself. I think I've still got it. I said, Lewis Mann told me once, send it to yourself, put a postmark on it.
With a timestamp.
With a timestamp. I remember doing that.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that. That's flawed.
And I was on holiday just last year in Spain, sat by the pool on this farmhouse halfway up a mountain, like Airbnb, just private thing, lovely, watching my kids, and I was listening to the 1975. I just discovered the 1975, which was totally bending my head because it was all the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like getting me. I remember listening to that, and then I just pinged on my phone, and I looked at it, and it was like a photograph of somebody's car stereo with Breakout, and the message was like, cracking open some classics, love this band, Lincoln band. And I was like, fucking hell, we're 15 years out here, or whatever it is.
Well, do you know what? And this is going to, again, getting a bit fucking full of it, but if it's still, people still think it's decent, and people still play it, fucking it's worth doing it. It doesn't really matter about the fact that, we tried and we failed, but it was, if people still play it, people still like it.
Well, you say we try and we failed. Like
you're wrong. I'm wrong saying that.
But
it's not failure.
If you say signing a contract and paying your electric bill with your royalties, then yeah. But I mean, by the time we got to that last kind of slew of tours we did in Lincoln, we famously made it onto the pub watch meetings. We were a topic. Our band was a fucking topic on the pub watch meetings. Because of the numbers.
Yeah. Well, because of the numbers and
the demographic.
The people that... We even got fucking banned from the Lincoln Inn. How bad can that be?
Did we get banned from the Lincoln Inn?
They wouldn't let us play. They wouldn't let us play because because of notoriety.
Oh, right. I remember because when we were putting together... Because we did like a tour, didn't we? Which was kind of designed to sort of furnish the colourful layers of the Lincoln, wasn't it?
Yes. We did. You got away with it.
We did all the lad pubs, didn't we? Like the proper rough and tumbler fucking,
Which I fucking loved, given I had like £400 worth of equipment in front of me and everyone was just fucking spilling beer everywhere.
Yeah, but the love though, them people were just so committed to what we were doing and the message in the songs and, you know, I don't want to get into any more sad news, but some of those guys that loved us aren't here now. But you know, those tours and those gigs were like, and we put that together ourselves, didn't we? And we did like, I think we did, was it a March time? We did like every weekend, didn't we?
Yeah.
We did like 2 or 3 gigs every weekend in that March, and we went to all the kind of, what, you're playing there? Fucking hell, you're joking, aren't you? No, it's going to go off. It'll be great.
Yeah, and it did.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny because like we played decent play. We not that these places weren't decent, but like we played places that were on the map almost. Didn't we?
Of course. With prestige for that.
Yeah. And those gigs I enjoyed, but not as much as the gigs when it all went off and it was in a place in Lincoln. So it was colourful, wasn't it?
So do you reckon you've got that? How do you feel then?
I know I have.
Oh fucking! I can't wait to listen to
I've
that.
definitely got it, and I will find it. I'm not great with technology, but I'll find it and see what I can do. And
well, even if you find a CD, I can probably find a way to get it, you know, digitized and what have you.
I've definitely got it because it's obviously Lewis is on it. Lewis played on it.
Yeah.
And you know his guitar playing.
Yeah, classy, man.
Is class. Yeah.
He's got that. I was saying in the message the other day, and I noticed this. I mean, Lewis, as you mentioned, that we were in a couple of iterations of different bands before. We got what were we called at first?
We were called.
Did we become Shine?
We were called The Main. The Main,
yes.
Because I remember it.
I know where you're
going to say, don't you?
I know where you're going. Go on.
We played that Battle of the Bands in Dunholm, and we fucking smashed it. We played 3 songs, but it was about 4 or 5 bands. I think we were way better.
And the room knew it. Didn't they?
Everyone it went off,
didn't it?
And yeah, it did. It was really good. And the judge got up at the end and he said, "Well, I liked it." But this is what I'm going to say. I'm hearing The Main. I'm getting Main Road. I'm thinking Oasis. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. What? So what? We sound like the biggest band of the time. What's wrong with that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He fucking stiff. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. And this stands for any band and any kind of pigeonholing or whatever, you know. In that sense, young bands on a stage in a local village hall, if you manage to get the room on their feet, and there's electric, like you get to the point where there's a thing that's happening.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Whether or not you're kind of imitating or you're kind of, you know, clearly in that lineage, if it's good enough, like if this band is tight enough, you know, we're not trying to win the fucking Eurovision Song Contest. It's like, who lit this room on fire?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess that's part of the, you know, you've got to take those knocks and you've got to take that on board and you get fucking hell, are we? I never thought that. The Main, I just liked it. The main thing, the main road.
It never came from that. It was, but it pissed me off. But I think then we changed our name. After that, there probably was another iteration of the band with someone left and someone came in or whatever. But then we became Time Rise. And Time Rise was the name we got from the dictionary thing. And I'd forgotten all this.
Was that around the time I lived with you?
I think it probably it was a bit before that. I think a bit before that. You came and lived one hedonistic summer, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because I remember I was quite a good kid back then. Did you?
Yeah. And your mum and dad, bless them, Tone and Sue looked after me. Something like, you know, I loved it. I loved it.
My mum and dad, they loved the Jack the Lad. I knew we were a Jack the Lad then, and you came in. Sue, come here, give us a cuddle, Sam. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You came in at 3:30 in the morning, and you lit up for work at 7.
I took you to work with me in the rain.
You did. But I never forget that. Oh, it's fucking. I remember thinking to myself, how can you do this? Monks Abbey School on a Saturday because you'd
talked myself into it, didn't I?
Well, I think you'd gone out and you'd one weeknight and you'd missed a day.
That was right.
And your boss had gone, right, you're
going to make it up.
You're going to make it up. And you're like, I need to. Yeah. So I came and stood on the fucking Monks Abbey school roof with you.
And did it rain that
It
day
pissed
as
it
well?
down, yeah.
And I didn't think that I could have got, by the way, roofing. You shouldn't be pulling a roof off in the rain.
That's fucking. I was meant to be an intelligent lad. I'm fucking stood up there with you. I could have said that. Yeah.
That was the power of persuasion that I had back then.
Dedication to someone who's going to make me a star one day.
You're not daft. You was thinking, right, there's something in this.
This kid's going to make me a star.
Oh well, they were wonderful times, and we've weaved history and created memories, and you know. It's nice to be here at this age, you know, we're about to turn 40, you know, you're clearly looking after yourself. I know I made decisions, as you alluding to, I was a little bit colourful back then, cleaned up a lot of my my mentality, I guess, and therefore everything that follows it, and feel good. And I think listening to the music and listening to the songs and current events. I think, you know, I would love to see if the sound could be taken into now with the experience, with the know-how, with the patience, with the composure, you know.
Are you saying live Riot reunions? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying fucking anything's possible. I'm saying I'm aware that this life is finite, and you know you've got to take things when you can get them. There's lots of things that seem to, you know, like you said at the start here, of like, you know, sometimes things just kind of fall into place.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird, and I don't, you know, we've been messaging and stuff and getting back in touch, and you think to yourself, when something like, and refer back to, you know, Wade, God rest his soul, but you refer back to it and something like that happens, things crystallise and you think, actually, you know, 39, 40, what's next? What do we've got? You listen to the songs, you think, we say it ourselves, but they stand up. They do stand up. Yeah. And there's a lot of songs. The latest release we didn't really get out. You know, we recorded.
No, we didn't do anything with it. We recorded it
and sort of stopped, didn't we?
And it only got basic recorded. We didn't go back in and produce it and kind of mix it.
And it was and you know, I've carried on writing. You've obviously done everything you've done and done some brilliant stuff. So in terms of, you know, the opportunity of getting back and doing something creative again, it's just,
and half the job is you throw the fish out there, because it's fucking not easy to get 5 people. Which is also the trepidation of something like this, isn't it? Especially at this age. Because trying to get, and I think as you alluded to with the Battle of the Bands and changing our name and probably someone in and someone out, that became, in the end, after about 4 or 5 years, that does get tiring, because you're on your 3rd drummer and your 3rd bass player, and that's great, but basically you're going back to the start and you've got to learn those songs again, just getting somebody else up to speed, and some of the magic goes, and maybe it doesn't fit or it does fit, and you know
it becomes a bit laborious, doesn't it? It becomes a bit tiresome doing it again after and again and again and again. And I think that's why probably when you get to the certain age and you all realise the level of commitment you've got, and take it a bit easier, maybe say, well, you know, if someone can't make a rehearsal, well, that's fine, we'll do it next week, you know. But at the time, we were intense, and you look back and you think, actually we were rehearsing twice a week, gigging at the weekend, and full on, it was full on. And some people, you referred back to your drive, and you were pushing at that point, and you were, and when you say, you know, about you know, you checkered past or whatever, and you made decisions. Well, actually, whatever happened, the band was everything, and you were pushing, and you were ideas, and if we'd have had some of the outlets that people have now. Even just on a WhatsApp, sharing things on a WhatsApp.
Oh, it's outrageous, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. You know, we would have it, whereas I would come with the song and we would try and learn it that night, and then we wouldn't play it again until the following week or the next rehearsal. And everyone would go away.
You couldn't even record something on your phone or anything, could you?
You weren't recording it on your phone. You'd
have to have some expensive equipment and a fuck about, and
which we didn't have.
No,
so,
God no.
So yeah, it was the opportunity. You know, back to what we were talking about. The opportunity is. It would be stupid not to at least think about getting back in a room and seeing what happened. I think.
Well, when you mentioned there, Lewis, you know, those couple of earlier bands that I was in before we, you know, those first kind of learner plate bands, Lewis was somebody that I didn't know. So that summer house I was in with Joe Dale and Mark Flynn, those boys I'd grown up with. Same, you know, 6-7 years old, like you. Yeah. And then I think Kev Richardson was the drummer. They said, "Oh, there's a lad. He's a year younger than us, but he's a brilliant drummer. He's got his drum kit takes up the whole dining room in his house." And I was like, "All right, yeah." They're just bigging him up.
Fucking one of them drummers.
I went to his house. He got like a 13-piece Pearl Export drum kit that took up his whole dining room, and he got on it and just fucking was like John Bonham. I was like, "My God, right." He's in the band. And then he could do everything. His mum was a singing teacher.
Oh, it was Linda, yeah, I remember. We did some singing lessons with her. Do you remember?
We did, yeah. We started singing Elvis song, didn't we? what did we sing? Was it
in the ghetto? Was it that one? I can't remember. I think it was In the Ghetto.
But I tell you what,
I learned
the breathing.
Yeah, breathing, huge.
I just talked about this on the last podcast because Lindsay Clayton was in, and she's took up singing, and she's been off singing on cruise ships and doing all sorts. Got well into her music. She said about singing lessons, and that's those couple of lessons that I had there. Excuse me, it was the breathing. that I did to this day, every vocal I've ever done since, in the studio and stuff. And when I'm thinking correctly live, I would take myself 5 minutes and just open my diaphragm and strengthen my throat and just open everything up and widen my reach, and makes all the difference.
It's unbelievable because, again, as 15, 16-year-old kids, you think, oh, fuck that, I'm not. We never had lessons. I'd never had a guitar lesson in my life. But as we got a bit more serious into our 20s, it was like, actually, this is probably a good thing to do.
Yeah, and give ourselves a pat on the back for that, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, especially with my schoolmates, because going to singing lessons was literally like fucking...
You'd have got fucking lynched.
Oh, got lynched at lunchtime at dinner, yeah. But no, Lewis, when I got introduced to Lewis, so Kev came in the band, that was great, and then Lewis came along, and I didn't know Lewis, and I think Lewis went to William Fye, went to one of the schools out in the villages, didn't he?
One of the posh schools.
Yeah, and... he came along and he had this strange kind of, he had a different aura, because obviously where we're from, he's totally different. And he always had this really kind of just smooth kind of almost, there's a nonchalance in a way of how he played. And I always remember like the shape of his fingers, and like he seemed to be doing a lot without doing a lot. And there's just chord sequences he would put together. We were just chatting about one of the songs, The Way You Say, which because we never really did anything with that, but I always remember it being very... Did we play a Christian kind of calf or something?
Yes, we did. We did play a Christian... No, if you remember, I think what happened was, going back, you were playing football with Dan Hargreaves, and he was Youth for Christ.
That's right.
And I knew Dan anyway, and I think we had to convert to Christians, and I think we did it to get the cafe for free, to do our rehearsal.
We converted to Christians.
I think we had to. Well, we say convert. I think you had to
smoking too much. I can't remember anything.
You had to confess our sins. I think we even contemplated.
Fucking hell! How long was I in there?
I think they said you better go straight down to fucking hell, mate. You're done. You're fucked. So no, and we did it, and I remember them coming out and saying, you should come on Sunday, and we're like, yeah. I remember we walked away and looked at each other and went, what the fuck happened there? Have we just been fucking brainwashed? I said, no, we've just got the room for free. That's what we've done. Nice. That's all we've done. So that's what we did. Yeah, we did rehearse.
I always remember that song.
The Way You Say.
I've got, and it was on. Was it Beaumont Fee?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I just got that song. When I think of that song, I just get like a flash of kind of being outside that cafe near that green bit at the.
Well, I was saying to Lewis, it's in terms of the chord progression, which one of the things that Lewis did very well is chords, and I learned a lot from
really
him.
melodic
chords, and his chord progression is great, and
the right chord at the right time.
It was. He is very good at that, and that was The Way You Say was the first. I remember it as the first song that sort of lifted us up again. So we had some songs that were a bit poppy and maybe a bit indie, but that one was actually this is getting there, and then we continued to move forward after that.
Yeah, and it was also for me. I don't know about you, because we didn't really talk collectively about that, but I remember starting to recognise individuals. So by the time Lewis was in the band, and then Chris was in the band. Chris Martin, Geordie Chris, who's a bit older than us, very experienced. I think he was the 800 gig sort of veteran at the time we met him, and he'd done the rounds and really, go get 'em kind of attitude. And I can remember like all of a sudden like recognising, people are different. Yeah, I started to remember that, like I feel that, you know what I mean? Not everyone's from this estate, and we just fucking, he's into that music, and he's a bit more standoffish, and he's into that, and he's really full on, and like, whoa, and like. But
that was one of your strengths, I think, in terms of managing people,
trying to mediate
it, but not going too hard. I remember, some funny times as well when sometimes personalities clashed, and I remember one of the old guitarists, Matt, chasing Chris Martin down the road after a rehearsal because he'd pissed him off or something. And I remember it because, diverging from the serious message, but I remember it because we came out of the rehearsal and Matt was like, fucking hell, I'm going to swing for us. I was like, Matt, just calm down. And Matt said to Chris, you better fuck off or whatever. And Chris was like, all right. And then Chris couldn't resist, and he turned around, and I can't remember what he said, but he said something, and then it was like,
like Benny Hill,
and fucking he sprinted away, and I remember Matt swiping a kick at him, and it was like, and then came back, and we were fucking howling. You couldn't help it, and it was, but those little things.
And also, you get that in bands when you're spending that much time together, and you kind of
you have to learn that different like you said, different personalities need treated in different ways.
But that's what I remember. I remember all of a sudden kind of being we're all lads from basically a particular estate in town with a particular school or particular mindset or what particular environment, and then ages and area kind of coming in, and music tastes and fashion tastes, and kind of like, oh shit, like yeah, people are different, and there's like an education in life as well.
Yeah, I remember going to Lewis's, I think it was Lewis's mum and dad's house, and or I think it was his mum, I can't remember which one.
Lovely.
St Giles Avenue, fucking hell, I was, yeah, man, I thought
instruments everywhere, and just like, I was like, wow, this lovely.
This is a different fucking world here, and
really nice.
But it's it takes all sorts, mate, doesn't it? And,
it does.
And we over the iterations, we managed to keep it together as best we could, anyway. And I think me and you were probably the only ones who survived the whole process, weren't we? In terms of from the days of the main and Shine, probably was Shine at some point.
I think it was. I think when you came across, that was something that I wanted to come with.
For any fucking reason you got me.
Do you remember back then? It wasn't. It's because I knew. I knew that you were. I didn't know this at the time, but subconsciously I must have known, because this is something I'm learning about myself as I'm kind of trying to unravel my bullshit and trauma over the years. Something I seem to come back to is I seem to have had an eye or an ear for like people who would get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And from football, I knew you because you were somebody at football that you. Back then, you're young and you're like, who's better than who? But like, you just knew the lads who were like fucking just on it. Do you know what I mean? And you felt like a bit of a blagger. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, someone give me a lift home. That was me. Do you know what I mean? But
more talent you were.
But no, you had that, and it's not a coincidence, like you say, that we were the two that all the way through. But if we do get to a point at 40 years old, and those 5 people are up for it. If you did throw it out there and it was like, look, is everybody up for chucking a year and a half at this thing and, you know, committing to it? Because and the other thing that you think about now, which is difficult unless you have been doing music, is that so much work can get done now before you get those 2-3 hours you've booked in the room.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you've got your garage band, you know, bounce over a guitar track, you've got the song, instead of us, right, first hour of just do it again, Foz, do it again. You know, fucking scribbling shit down on, you know, the back of or whatever.
Yeah.
Now you've done that all at home because you send the track over and you sing the track, and then by the time you get in a room, everybody's kind of got, you know, and I've learned that with the bands that I was in after the fact, you know, especially with people like Tommy Wincott, who's producer and was a whiz on fucking everything. You give him anything Pro Tool, you know, he's a whiz. So all of a sudden you're going home with like, oh, what do you want on it? Do you want your drums and just drums and guitar? Do you want what? And I'm like, fucking hell, right, no. Everyone's taking a different version of the track home. You come back in the next week and you start playing it. The first time, I can remember, first time we ever done a song that had been written, so it had been demoed, because Michael who'd written it had demoed it in GarageBand. So it's a full song. It's got bass, it's got drums, it's got everything on it. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. And then before we'd ever been in a room, he split it off, gave me the lyrics in a fucking note, you know, in a digital note, gave me the song, and that's the same to the bass player, stripped down to the drums and the vocal, and pretty much that for everybody else. Then we went in the room like a week later and went, you know, well, it's a whatever 120 BPM. There's a click, clack, clack, clack in, and fucking went.
And you're off
straight through the song, got to the end, and it was like, and obviously it's a bit, but fucking bang.
Within fucking 5 minutes, you played it through.
In half an hour's time, you're starting to bring it in.
See, that was why for a long time when we were kids, we had about 4 songs, and we had 4 songs for a long time because we spent so much time learning them. And I remember when we used to have sessions. I remember we used to go, right, let's do every start. Let's do every end. Is it the right? Is it good? Is it not? What can we change? And we spent a lot of time on those songs. But can you imagine now with I mean, I'm no whiz on technology, but
we can demo stuff and just do so much of that work.
It'll be a lot easier,
and then give it to each other. And then by the time you get in that room, 60% of that kind of just putting the nuts and bolts together is done.
It makes a huge difference when you've got, particularly say age with family and all that type of stuff, and you've got ties. It makes a huge difference to it.
But isn't it even weird with the family thing? Because now we're at a point where your kids are kind of on their own 2 feet now as well.
Yeah.
So like time opens up a little bit again.
Yeah, it does. But I think, and it's interesting because I've told, as I'm sure you have, you tell your kids about what you did, and you show them pictures, and they listen to the songs, and like. So
you were cool, Dad.
Yeah. I might never said that. What the fuck's this?
Amanda never said it to me, but I did get told by one of their friends' mums the other day that when I went upstairs and my little boy's playing with her little boy, and she said, I went up there to check they were all right, and they've got YouTube on, and Sonny was showing Max Chew the Chat podcast, and he said, that's my daddy, and he was cool.
He's like,
bless you. He never said it to me.
No, of course it
no, it wasn't daddy, I just saw it on YouTube. But no, it's weird, isn't it?
No, it's weird, but I think it's to be able to show and to do it now when they're a bit older it's brilliant.
And be part of it,
Be part of it, absolutely, yeah.
Well, we'll throw the spot and we'll see what happens. But it's definitely, and I'm at a point musically as well where, having done a lot of electronic music, and I think culturally everything's digital, everything's kind of an application, and I'm kind of yearning for simplicity. I've been getting into fucking all sorts of just nuts and bolts stuff lately. Wild camping, just simplifying. I know I do a podcast and there's all sorts of crazy shit going on right now as we do this. And I guess this has become my band in a way, that creative outlet, the thing, the logo, the personality of something. But I'm definitely feeling at my age, and I was again talking to producer Aidan before the podcast about wild camping. I've been going wild camping a lot, and kind of just no phone, just fucking in the woods somewhere, set a little tent up, and all of a sudden you do realise, right, all I'm thinking about is like, right, we need to be dry, that's good, water, we've got some nice food, cook that right, make sure we don't burn anything down, look after the fire, have we got enough water yet, good, got me some tunes on a little speaker, and just been with my kids. Like, last time I went, it was just me and the middle boy, I was only 5, and it was fucking, just the noise is removed. And I'm really.
I can't. You see, and this is where I've not really like spoken to you for a long time. So this side of you, I've always known is there, but it's so far removed from the Sam I knew. Do you know what I mean? Going wild camping with these 5-year-olds, it's just. I can see it's there now. When you say it, I can see actually that is you, but you would never have guessed it.
Well, I mean, me particularly, the hedonistic nature of me was pretty heavy, wasn't it? And I can remember getting to some rehearsals, which is about the only bits I do remember, was like, who's got some dope, and if nobody had brought, if it's always me, and I'm like, well, I ain't got any for whatever reason, because I spent every penny I've got partying, and I'd be like, well, who's got, and then I'd be fucking pissed off because there's nothing to smoke, and that's. Well, it's got to be heavy on other people, Well,
it ruined the rehearsal if people didn't have what we needed. Do you know what I mean? But it was that was when it was a different. I think as we got older, and certainly with Live Riot particularly, it was a lot more focused,
tuned in.
Yeah, a lot more tuned in, a lot more focused, and it was. But you still, in and around the band like Live Riot because of the songs we played, the people who came, and it was a
the nature of it. It's Live Riot, for God's sake.
Yeah, and it a lot of the time fucking was getting banned from pubs, but it was you wouldn't change any of it.
Well, that's what's so appealing as well about, like, if we did pull it off, if we did decide, if everyone's up for it, let's do something, because I know personally where I'm at, I know that how focused and how experienced, I'm better than I certainly was in that summer house,
Yeah, but I think, but it's, as you keep saying, it's opportunity. I don't know what the scene's like in Lincoln anymore, or even if there is one.
Well, what's the open mic thing been like? Because that always fascinates me.
Well, it's back to what you said about I'd not done anything with music. I'd still been writing a little bit, but not done anything with music for a long time. And I remember one of the things you'd said to me after we'd done the band, and I did do a bit of stuff on my own. And you'd said, I remember you saying it, keep making music. It's the answer. I remember you saying it, and I remember thinking, yes, a mantra that it always stuck with me, really.
And, that's nice.
And we. And when I went through what I went through, and it's personal stuff, and then you think, actually, I need an outlet again. You need to do something to get it out, and so I started writing again, and it was I loved it. I started recording it on my phone. Then I thought, actually, I'm going to get these. I'm going to record it. I've always wanted to do my own stuff and do recording, and I've got into a little bit of some of the stuff you mentioned about Prologic and what can you do with the songs? How can you build them up? And
have you started using that then?
I've not started using it, but it's the first time I'd been open.
Realised that it was
something that didn't sound.
It's
shit.
Not just £600 for 2 days in a place somewhere. You can actually somebody who knows what they're doing and can get you some beats down and solidify something.
Because exactly that. I went in there with an acoustic guitar and a tambourine. Do you know what I mean? And I came out with 4 songs that I've got drums, bass, everything, violins, orchestra. We did some stuff with a it was, I can't remember what it's called now, but it was it'll come back to me in a minute, but and it's like an E version of a violin, and all this stuff that you can do without actually having a piano, without having to have one in the room. It was just, it was an eye opener for me, and I always thought to myself, it would sound shit. I know you could do it, but it's never going to sound authentic. It's going to sound like it is, which is a computer program, but it doesn't. So that was the first time I'd sort of realised, actually, I want to do something. Do something again creative and see how it goes.
Get the cathartic kind of release of it as well, the therapy.
Yeah, well, exactly that. And then at the same time, open mic nights, and I've always wanted to go and try it. And I remember thinking, fuck it, I was going to go and do it. And I went down to the Birdcage and down Monks Road, and at the time, great night. It was a good, well set up, well run. And I just did it. And I remember thinking, I don't know how I'm going to sound, but I'm just going to do it because I've always fancied doing it.
And that, for listeners, and this is something I come back to on this podcast a lot, it's my mantra, one of my mantras in life, like Nike nailed it in the 80s whenever they fucking copyrighted it, but literally that just do it, that applies, that's applicable to everything, because as time's passing by, and it's not on every occasion, you don't just do everything because you'll find yourself in all sorts of pickles, but when you get that creeping little voice in your mind when you kind of want to do something, but you're kind of justifying reasons why, I'm too old, or I'm, that's not me anymore, or whatever. And often these things are exercises of release. I think and that's probably what I was getting at with you with the music, is like, don't make another band and go through all the shit, but like keep getting it out, keep writing that shit on the paper because it's coming out of you. And that half an hour, that 45 minutes that you get lost on the guitar and maybe something comes out of it, maybe you get a verse and a bridge, maybe, but whatever. You've had that 45 minutes when you left this noise.
Well, and it's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. However you find the piece to go and do something like that, whether it's camping or whether it's writing songs or whether it's getting in the car and driving or whatever, you need it. And I found that I'd written in and around the time of starting to do some of the open mics, I'd written about 10 songs, and I didn't even really know. I hadn't sat down and gone, right, I'm going to write a song now. It was just like, get a piece of paper, messing about, that sounds all right.
That's the best.
And it all just sort of came out, and it helps me get through a period in my life, but it was reconnecting with music again was just like, it was brilliant.
It's really important, isn't it? And what about listening to music? So have you continued to listen to music like passionately, getting albums and, the whole way through? Have you kept that going?
All the time, yeah. I mean, what I haven't done particularly is necessarily keep up with the newer stuff, like you mentioned about rediscovering the 1975. Well, not massively. I've never. A lot of it doesn't really float my boat, I'll be honest.
No. Well, I'm similar, and that's why I got took by surprise by them a little bit. Because even now, today, I don't. That kind of almost like, because I was never a massive Prince fan. I get what Prince was doing, but there's elements that have got very sort of sexy, suave 80s kind of like. But I think what happened with the 1975 for me is I saw a couple of interviews with him, and I think coming back to what I was saying about simplicity or something real, something tangible, and I watched a couple of interviews with him, and it felt to me a bit like when we got into Guns N' Roses when we were kids, and Guns N' Roses were like a band that were like, obviously they're American, so there's that exotic and enigmatic nature of, they're not from Burnage, they're from fucking
from LA,
and they're fucking throwing whiskey bottles out of their rented van that they've just crashed into a wall and just left it there and gone and slept in the studio and wrote Sweet Child of Mine and fucking put eyeball heroin in, and just crazy. The 1975, I caught a couple of interviews, and then I went on a little YouTube rabbit hole that you go on these days, with Matty Healy especially, and I just got a real sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a proper artist, and I would put him in the bracket of kind of a Nick Cave, like almost insufferable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Difficult character, yeah.
Yeah, because you're just so absorbed in the other that it's fucking almost out of reach, and it becomes like, come on, man. But I loved again, coming back to the everything now and applications and digital and fucking everything's automated. They seem like a real band. You know, they're producing everything themselves. They've been together since they were kids, and in this climate, they've become the biggest. They're the biggest band in the world at the minute, I think. And their sound's kind of weird. But I watched a live thing, and they do. He cares about the visual, the narrative of everything, like the lyrics, the style of everything, the narrative, the visuals, the way that they sort of space out every record has got. There's a consistency now. They're up to record 4, I think. There's a 1975 intro on every one. It's just called the 1975, and it sets you. And I just loved it. Just felt whole, even though stylistically it's not really my thing.
No, I think, I wouldn't have said it is from your thing, but everything else you've just mentioned is in terms of it's not just music's important. It's the main thing, but everything else that goes with the band has got to be real. And I think you mentioned all those things about the style and the art and even to the point where, you know, the space between the songs. I remember you saying once that, you know, I was playing just some open chords or whatever, and you were like, actually, no, play it again. What we'll do is we'll have a song here, and then we'll have that can be an interlude between the next song. And you're not just thinking about the songs, you're thinking about the whole package and the visual. You know, we did, you know, the massive Live Riot thing which you got sorted, and the visual thing that you had, and the vision that you had is more than just the most bands down from the street. Do you know what I mean? You thought bigger, and that's resonated with you in terms of what you were saying about the 1975 in terms of how they think.
I guess that is it, and I guess that's what. Yeah, you've probably just filled the blank in for me. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Is the idea that
it's more than a band.
Yeah, and I've gotten into, you know, started actually reading books and trying to educate myself and being fascinated by philosophy and thinkers and the human condition. And he's very, very articulate and very, very kind of thoughtful, and there's a depth to him, and I can see him knitting that into the songs. And on that same holiday I was on last year in Spain with the family, when I got the Live Riot thing come through aside of the pool, I was listening to 1975, and they just released the track, was it People? Called People? Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Fucking heavy.
It's really
people need people to fuck the people. And it's like and they're in like a efflorescent cube kind of thing in the video. Have you seen the video? They're all dressed in black. They kind of look very kind of they look kind of like a bit like The Cure, actually.
He's got a bit of look of the Robert from The Cure, hasn't he? He has.
But all that stuff I just talked about, the Prince, the kind of delicate, sexy kind of 80s synthy kind of almost Sade kind of. All of a sudden, this track came out, and it was in the I guess the early throes of the energy of where we are and globally at the minute, you know. And he's talking about it's just staying in the house, and I want everything now, and bring it here, and fucking just weed and pizzas and just shit, you know, like. But they turned everything on the head. I was like, fucking, that's the heaviest thing I've heard from them.
But having the ability to be able to, and the bollocks to be able to do that, it almost strikes you as someone who's not necessarily doesn't care only about sales and fame. They care more about their message, and they care more about what they are as a band. Yeah, all that thing's important, clearly.
I think you're nailing it, you know. I think you're nailing it, because they have become the big band. And just to interject quickly, they're signed to Dirty Hit.
Oh, yeah.
Dirty Hit Records, who were I think it's Jamie, I forget his second name, I'll dig it out. Jamie, see if you can pull that up. Dirty Hit, Jamie, God. Anyway, I listened to a podcast with him when I started one of my bands recently. When I got back into music in the last 4 or 5 years, I thought, podcasts, right? Search fucking music industry podcasts. Let's learn about what the fuck do you do these days. How do you do it now? Do you know what I mean? Because it is different. You don't just go down the studio and let's write this song and then you know, go and play a gig. It's like Spotify, Instagram stories and fucking. But yeah, I came across this Jamie who's got Dirty Hit, and his principles of starting that label, which a lot of indie labels start with those principles, but I really kind of thought, oh wow, he's cool. And they were kind of 1975 are kind of their symbolic, you know, king of the label.
Well, it's easy enough, and it's easy to be and to retain those principles when you've got some success and there's money coming in and it's funding itself, and you don't have to go too far with it. But
you don't get lost in that.
You're not getting lost in that, but it's funding it, and you're not worried about where your next meal's coming from, because obviously some people who start these things, it's all right having those principles, but you need to pay your mortgage, don't you?
Course,
and it's a difficult balance sometimes. But with clearly with the 1975, they've got that success, and I think, like you say, sometimes these ultra creative people can be a little bit fucking.
Yeah. That's what I
mental.
get from him, and I think you've nailed it there. Like, you've put that in my mind as well. I think when I do listen to him, they're not on the front of all the papers. They've got that kind of Radiohead. You know, they're not. I mean, I don't see the papers, but you don't see all the kind of celebrity shit about him. And when I do see him, he's, like I say, there's that borderline. You're on the edge of that insufferable artist, but I do think there's a genuine. And they just hit the thing, and they're the biggest band. And I thought, these are the biggest band. And I did they're the biggest. They are the biggest band.
Yes, I wouldn't have said that I'm sure you're probably right. But someone said 1975 are about the biggest band around. I wouldn't have said. I wouldn't have known who is, but I wouldn't have said that really.
I mean, they cracked America off the bat. I think pretty much. I think everything they've been doing has just been, it's just been working both sides of the pond.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll have to check it out. But they just surprised me, because as we sit here now, I'm still not sure at all about them. But I've got that thing from them where I think,
but that's enough. I mean, they've got you intrigued, don't they? Because and it's not just the music; it's everything about it. It's everything about where they came from, everything about how they've started, how they continue to keep their integrity. So it's not you're interested. Whether the music's blowing your mind is almost immaterial, because you're interested in everything else, which is what they're trying to get. Is there any new bands? Is anybody tickled your fancy? Is there anybody that you've caught hold of that you think, there's something here?
Do
you know, not particularly. I've not listened to anything and thought, Catfish and the Bottlemen, I like
right, yeah,
I like them. Of all the new ones that have come out, I quite like them. But nothing. I'm still listening to stuff from that I was listening to back then. I would still put the Manics on more often than not. So I'm not. I don't really. I'm still a bit old school with it. I still feel like there's going to be another resurgence of guitar bands, and I think it's probably coming.
I think you're bang on, and I think it's in the air, isn't it? Clearly,
it definitely is, and I think it needs to happen, because
I think that's in that. I think it's in the wake of the digital dust settling. I do. I think, like, for me, the camping on just fucking simplifying stuff. Guitar, kick drum that isn't synthesized on and just everything's just so tight. And just so on the metronome, and just so fucking that it becomes just like there's no humanised kind of feeling.
Yeah, but having said all that, and I think that will happen, I sort of also resonated back down to big orchestral stuff, like either big orchestral stuff or stuff that's really stripped back. So I really like London Grammar. If you heard London Grammar, Big Picture by London Grammar is one of my favourite songs over the last 10 years, and it's she's got a beautiful voice, but it's quite stripped back and melodic. But there's a presence to it, and I've always liked big tunes.
Yeah,
euphoric tunes, but they don't have to be. You don't have to have a fucking
pin back to the wall.
Yeah, you can do it in different ways, can't you? It can be a simple stripped back effect, but that just builds. And one thing we were always quite good at, building a song.
Yeah,
you
we enjoyed that, didn't we? Like
we built it from something into something else, and
making you have a journey and kind of sweeping you into something, and then turning a corner, and then I mean, a friend of mine actually managed the London Grammar.
Really?
Yeah, and she put me onto him. She said to me, "Do you know these guys?" This is what she went from Adele to she was the band manager for Adele, and then she went on and got the London Grammar gig, and she said that. What's the girl's name?
I can't remember her name.
She said she's super shy,
Really?
Like painful for her to go on stage and stuff. But I think there are 3 pieces, like a guitar Korg setup and massive. A bass Korg setup or a drum and something.
It's just really quite.
It's very the sonics are very sort of wide, aren't they? Yeah, and yeah.
But I like all that. And I sort of got into.
My daughter and I listen to that record a lot. What's the London Grammar? What's the big record that won the Brit and all that?
I can see the front cover, but I can't remember what it's called.
When my daughter was born, we listened to that a hell of a lot, because it is very kind of just atmospheric.
Yeah, I like that. I got into a bit of that. I sort of got into solo female artists, bizarrely. I really like Lana Del Rey, and I don't know where that came from.
Did you know? I'm sure one of her co-writers is from Lincoln.
He is. He wrote, I can't, again, fucking classic for me.
We're great. We're fucking podcast gold, aren't we? We are.
Can't remember his name. But he wrote, co-wrote Blue Jeans and a few other things. And because to be honest, it crossed my mind. I thought to myself, actually, if I can get one tune out there that somebody takes, and you can
publishing. If you I mean,
I never had an idea about
Sam. I listened to a podcast with Scroobius Pip, Distraction Pieces. Shout out to Scroobius Pip and the Distraction Pieces, because they are directors of the Pod Bible, and Pod Bible magazine is the essential guide to podcasting, and they have been a big help for us. We're out in the current issue 9. They're putting together kind of like the NME, if you like, of podcasts, so you can find the interviews, find the podcast, what's happening, what's going to be happening, who's collaborating. But on his podcast, I listened to, can you remember The Ordinary Boys?
Yes, Preston.
Sam Preston.
Yeah. He
writes now for he's got like a Hollywood gig. I mean, he's writing for, I think he's done stuff for Kylie, and
it's big industry. I mean, it's funny, I was, as you're doing in this lockdown, doing a family quiz. We're doing a family quiz on Zoom or whatever. Yeah. And one of the questions that we were doing intros around, and the intro was, for some reason, came across I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. Well, that's actually written by Kathy Dennis. Do you remember Kathy Dennis from the 80s?
Dennis, she wrote everything.
She was a pretty shit pop artist in the 80s. You're all right, but didn't do anything. And now she's one of the people.
She's written Britney Spears stuff.
She's written for so many people, and it's an outlet for people, I think, who gone into the industry, not succeeded to a point, but got
it's
to
where the fucking Reddies are.
It absolutely is where the money is, mate. And so I'm fuck Live Riot. I'm starting writing some tunes. Yeah, fuck you lot. Like anyone's going to want to wear my tunes. You told me they were shit.
Oh, listen, no, I told you what I would have felt at that moment, and I think clearly it must have been 9 times out of 10. It was like, this is shit up.
No,
let's do it. Let's move it. Another tune that you did that was wicked, that used to remind me of U2, was one of the early ones. You Could Have It All.
That's the riff at the start, isn't it?
Yeah, that kind of that bellowing kind of.
I've got a recording of that as well.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have to dig all these.
I'll dig it out. It's on the same session. We recorded You Can Have It All and How'd You Feel, because they were both about 7 minutes long. And that's why we fucked all the time that we could afford to pay.
We could gig these two, 15-minute slot. Bit of an interlude, do a long intro. That's 20 minutes. They'll put us on for 20 minutes.
Remember, we sat there and listened to it on the tape, and I think we'd only paid for an hour in the car, in the car park, and the geezers kind of kick us out and listen to 2 songs, half an hour each, just going on and on and on. The songs were, but it was. I've got that, yeah, and that again, you sort of. I listened back to some of that, and it's. Sometimes you cringe a little bit. I try not to, because it's of a time, but you think, You Can Have It All. It was all right. It did what it did at the time, but.
I remember the feeling as we were younger. It was euphoric, and I'm sure if I was to listen to it now, it would feel there'd be obvious, rudimentary nature of putting your song together,
Yeah.
But I do remember the uplifting, and this is something again I'm missing, even in the bands that I went on to do, because a lot of it was electronic, digitized. That raw kind of, the drummer starts. Fucking is hitting the drums, and then the bass comes, and the guitars come, and then the vocals, and maybe harmonies. Just literally coming from people's physical bodies, not just like dropping in some synth and dropping in some loops, and which is great because it sounds great and done great stuff with it. But I'm really back at that place where, and you've said it, if guitar bands are coming around, if it's not just because guitar bands are coming around, it's because people are coming around to like, hang on a minute, we're in Wreck-It Ralph here, you know what I mean? We're in the internet. We're in the internet. We're not outside of it.
But you can't. There's nothing replacing that. Will ever replace that feeling of when everything kicks in. And when we
power.
Well, I can't remember the song. We used to do a song. And I can't remember what it's called now. But it was ding 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 at the start. I've got a recording of that somewhere as well. Time Won't Save You. Time Won't Save You. Yeah. That song. It was.
I love that.
That's one of the ones I've listened back to on that same recording thing, and which I've got and I'll send you. We listened back to that and I thought that's a good song. Yeah. It didn't.
We probably played everything too fast. I imagine if you listen to everything now, it's just fucking.
Yeah. Well, that was. As a recording, some songs sound better live, and when you record them, they're not as good. But some songs you record. You think, I'm not quite sure about this, but you record it and it lifts up, and that's one of them. That's one of them. And I remember thinking to myself when I heard that, I thought, fucking, this is big.
Was it minor chords and stuff?
It was a D to a D to a D minor. Then it was it was an A. It started. Then it went to A minor. But I remember thinking, I didn't come into the. This is one of the things. I didn't come into the thing with that start. It was, hang on a minute, right? This is the song, but let's do something different with the start. And we all put that together, and no doubt from a direction to you, because you used to direct a lot, didn't you, back in the day? And
that's all I could do. I couldn't do anything else.
Well, no, you could
just boss people. No, do it my way.
Yeah. No, but we did, and invariably the structure of the song. And this is something you said to me when I played you one of the other songs recently, and you said the structure of that song is good because it's one of the things you've always picked up on straight away. I didn't have that really, but you were like, hang on a minute, we're going from the verse to the bridge, and then it needs to drop back down again, and then we'll probably bring it in again, and that structure is something that you've always had.
Trying to weave the narrative a little bit, and not just drop it on your lap. You know what I mean? Just try and not make you guess, but kind of keep you just on the edge of
and then it builds, and that's one of the things. Like
we were famous. We had the Live Riot stomp, didn't we? Which we probably overused a bit. Actually, to be fair, I was heavy on the drugs at that point, running out of ideas. Just fucking go. Just go on the straights.
Just fucking bash it.
Well, listen, this has been wonderful. I've loved this, Foz.
It's been brilliant, mate.
And I think we'll in the wake of obviously difficult news, and as difficult as the news is and things that are happening, they do bind us, they do remind us, that life is short. We're at that age anyway. I think, midlife starts to creep in a bit, and you think, yeah, shit, I'm in my 40s, and that whole does life. Beginning at 40, it better fucking do.
Fucking hope so.
It does now because I am, so yes, it fucking does. But, if we're lucky enough, the number one is everybody's healthy that is in this particular band. Things have happened that might stir us to a degree. And if we can pull it off, if it's a case that these 5 people are like, I'm up for that, I've got some energy for that, I feel like that's cool, who knows what might happen. We'll have to watch this space, won't we?
We will.
But it's been lovely to catch up with you,
mate. Wonderful, thank you.
Nice one, Foz.
That's surreal, that is.
It's weird, isn't it?
I tell you what, it's fucking good.
In, aren't you?
It's brilliant. It's one-on-one, and it's like...